there is a lot wrong with this offense. And the part, though, that just hasn't changed has been Carson Wentz. Now, is it all Carson Wentz's fault? Absolutely not. Is he having one of his worst seasons of all time? Absolutely he is. It is bad. He looks like Andy Dalton. He looks like some of the lower-ranked quarterbacks in this league, and he has shown talent to be one of the best. As we will always remember, in 2017, the season we want back, Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate before going down. He has the intangibles. He has the killer instinct. Last year, when they needed 4 straight wins, they got him. 3 out of them coming from behind. The Eagles, he has shown resiliency. He's shown mental toughness. He's shown skill that is unmatched by a lot of positions besides Patrick Mahomes. He's able to throw the ball and make creative moves all the time. But something has happened this season.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin.
Welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, ChadBurn, and we are back for another great episode of the ChadBurn Show. After another full week of NFL action, we have plenty to recap. We have plenty to discuss. There is a lot to unfold, and even more controversy coming from the Philadelphia Eagles. I did not think in this terrible, tumultuous, awful season that there would be more to discuss and more chaos to unfold in this team, but there is. In fact, this controversy has continued to escalate its way up even further into the media, into the mainstream of sports, and that's obviously the battle between Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. It culminated last night to a final crescendo where Jalen Hurts came in to replace the Carson Wentz, and we'll get all into that, including how it was communicated. We'll break down the press conference of Doug Peterson today after that big and momentous decision for the Eagles and how it will play out for the rest of the few weeks, the remaining games that are to be played, and also games to decide the NFC least and who could be going to the playoffs to represent that terrible division. But before that, we will get into some key matchups as we do every week on the top storylines in the NFL. And we'll also do a little breakdown of the NFC East since it is starting to heat up with a crazy game between the Giants and the Seahawks. Without further ado, we will get into the big games of Week 13 in the NFL. So obviously the big one I wanted to cover was the first one on Sunday night, the big Sunday night game between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. Now, obviously, this game, when you came into looking at the stat line, looking at the score, looking at the possibility of how the score will turn out, you figured that the Denver Broncos were going to be heavy, I would say, underdogs in this one, and the Chiefs were the heavy favorites to take this one home. But the Denver Broncos would not get rolled over so easily. In fact, the Denver Broncos made a game out of it. Drew Lock was able to kind of keep this one in close. The Chiefs would end up winning, as we all assumed, but not by a landslide. The Chiefs win by 22-16 due to, I would say, a dominant run game by the Denver Broncos, a decent defensive effort by the Broncos, and then several miscues by the Kansas City Chiefs. So as I mentioned, the running game was going strong for the Denver Broncos, with Melvin Gordon leading it with 15 carries for 131 yards, averaging 8.7 yards per carry. That's right, Melvin Gordon having kind of a rejuvenating game after a decent season, but definitely not one that I would say was one of his top since he left the Chargers. Philip Lindsay getting in there for plenty of carries and plenty of opportunities. But Melvin Gordon definitely putting the team on his back and putting them into a position to win this game. Early on, the Broncos actually did end up taking a lead. The Chiefs would battle back with a couple of field goals and a touchdown to take the lead again. But really, in the first half, it was all field goals for the Chiefs. They were not able to convert into touchdowns, and that kept the Broncos in this game. Even though I would say the Broncos defense did pretty well, it was pretty amazing to see that Patrick Mahomes still ended up throwing for 318 yards and a touchdown, going 25 of 40. But the miscues are, I think, the big story for the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of penalty yardage, which ended up hurting them big time against the Broncos. And then 2 big touchdown passes called back, both going to Tyreek Hill, that could have easily made this a blowout, right? This game was close because some touchdowns didn't happen, but honestly, if both those Tyreek Hill's touchdowns go through, it's a whole nother ball game. We're looking at 36-16. Obviously, the first one, a deep pass to Tyreek Hill down the middle. It appears that he bobbles it going into the end zone and then falls to the ground and the ball comes incomplete. But on further review, it was apparent that Tyreek Hill never let that ball hit the ground. Somehow, falling to the ground with a defender on top of him, Tyreek Hill kept this ball from hitting the ground and actually was able to have a reception in the end zone. But unfortunately, Andy Reid would not challenge the call of an incomplete pass on the field. And it was not reviewed upstairs, obviously. The Chiefs kind of went straight to a punt because it was a 4th down after that. But if they had actually reviewed it, had challenged the play, they would have seen that Tyreek Hill caught the ball in the end zone, kept it up even after bobbling it, and it was a true touchdown. Miscue 1. Miscue 2, another Tyreek Hill streaking across the field, going deep. Patrick Mahomes hits him with ease to the point that Tyreek Hill is just chilling in front of the goal line and does a backflip into the end zone. But it's called back because of holding on the offensive line. So 2 huge plays called back by stupid penalties and bad calls on off by the head coach, by the Kansas City Chiefs. Denver Broncos, again, playing valiantly. Drew Lock only had 161 yards, 15 to 28 with 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, one coming late when they're trying to post a big comeback to take a lead against the Chiefs. But I would still say they played pretty well for a team that was a big underdogs, not expected to win this one. Kudos to the Broncos for making it a competitive game in a division where they're going to consistently have to see the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. Kelsey, the big beneficiary of the night, 8 receptions for 136 yards and 1 touchdown. The Broncos did not have an answer for Travis Kelsey, so really that was it. Again, Tyreek Hill could have had himself another huge night after the record-breaking game last week, but just could not get it done on 2 unfortunate plays in that game. The next game I want to highlight was the Patriots and Chargers, not because it was interesting, not because there was a lot of, I would say, great back-and-forth action, different lead changes. I want to highlight the Patriots and Chargers because, once again, the greatest coach of our time, Bill Belichick, made a rookie quarterback look foolish. They made the Chargers look awful. They made them look like they belonged back in college, that they were not a real NFL team. The Patriots end up beating down the Chargers 45-0 and keeping Justin Herbert to pedestrian numbers. Herbert, again, has had an incredible rookie season. In fact, it's looked like he could have been an MVP candidate coming into this one, especially Rookie of the Year candidate. He's blowing it up almost 300 yards a game. It's just been incredible the way he's been able to play and still losing, unfortunately. Blame that to coaching and especially that Chargers defense that apparently cannot keep a game from going with allowing the team to come back in the 4th quarter or win in overtime. But regardless, Justin Herbert has had himself a game and has a lot of talent around him to the point that people believe that the Chargers could be a playoff contending team next year. But my God, Bill Belichick did not let Justin Herbert have a chance to come out of this game unscathed. And it was just a masterful work of scheme against Herbert. He was unable to recognize really where the open receivers were. He threw into double coverage often. He got picked. It was just unable to really get into a rhythm, feel comfortable, and play the game you wanted to play. And on top of that, special teams miscue after special teams miscue. They give up touchdowns on punts. They just, they're getting blocked. It was just awful. Cam Newton, again, he only had 69 yards through the air. 69 yards. He didn't even clips 100, and they won 45-0. I mean, all across the board, it was just brutal for the Chargers. They couldn't get anything done, couldn't stop on defense, couldn't cause stupid turnovers on special teams, couldn't stop the turnovers on offense. It was a clinic for the Patriots against the Chargers and showing why the Chargers have a long way to go in their coaching staff, while the Patriots still are a dominant team in this one. Herbert was held to just 209 yards and gave up 2 interceptions. It was just inexcusable for that type of franchise where they're going right now with the talent they have to not be able to put up any points on the board. A shame across the whole thing. But at one point, I assumed they were going to pull Justin Herbert out for Tyrod Taylor. It did not happen. Herbert had to kind of slog his way through the rest of that game, trying to make some comeback or at least trying to put points on the board. It did not happen. Honestly, the Chargers, I think we all think that Coach Anthony Lynn is a good coach, but they need to move on from him. They need to get someone with a better offensive mind that can keep that team moving and develop Herbert into an elite quarterback, since the skill set is there. And they clearly need to bring in a defensive coordinator that will be able to bring that Chargers team up to be on the same level as that offense, because right now it is abysmal. The other game we're going to, game number 3 of our 4 to highlight, is the Las Vegas Raiders versus the New York Jets. This was a new way for the Jets to lose. The Jets end up giving the game-winning touchdown up to Las Vegas Raiders with 5 seconds left in the game. And not just an easy touchdown in the red zone. No, it was over like 30, 40 yards to Henry Ruggs in the end zone. A miraculous win by the Las Vegas Raiders. But really the highlight of this one is that the Jets did everything they could to be in the right position to win this game. They stopped the Raiders in the red zone the drive before. They scored to get themselves a lead. They were in the position to win this one. And then Greg Williams, a defensive coordinator for the Jets, decides to leave Henry Ruggs one-on-one with man coverage on the outside, and Ruggs just did what he does best. The fastest 40 in the NFL Combine, one of the fastest players in this league, and he is left one-on-one. Well, of course, Derek Carr went to him deep. Henry Ruggs did not disappoint. In fact, he redeemed himself after giving up a fumble earlier in that game. So Henry Ruggs with the game-winning heroics. And, of course, the defensive coordinator for the Jets, Greg Williams, was, of course, fired the next day for such a boneheaded call by someone who has been in this league for a long time. It is that one is especially inexcusable in the fact that he could not – how, knowing the talent on the Raiders, knowing who are their key players, what are their specialties, you know that Ruggs is a star, speedy outside wide receiver. You have to give help in that situation. You know they got to go deep. There is nothing else they can do. They're not going to win on a field goal. They have to score a touchdown. So they're going to go deep. How is there not help over the top? How are you not in cover 4, just covering deep in all those positions, making sure that if anyone starts running for the fly, that you're able to get multiple men onto them? It was an embarrassment for them. You don't have to worry about the run at that point, because the run is not going to get in the position to win the game. They have to pass the ball. How are you not at least concerned or keeping an eye on Ruggs the whole time? He is your deep threat. He and Nelson Aguilar. So just double those two up and just keep everyone else in front of them, and you're going to be fine. Again, 5 seconds left in the game. All you got to do is keep the ball inbounds and in front of you, not in the end zone. And they let a guy go right over the top of him. Derek Carr delivers a dime to Henry Ruggs, and it's over at that point. The hapless Jets just continue to find ways to lose in the NFL. It's a shame. I am sorry for Jets fans, because you finally felt like you could have a win this season, that it was going to come after some great play by Sam Darnold, some good job by the defense in most of the game to keep it close and to keep the Raiders honest. But again, you find new ways. If it's not the offense playing terrible or being terrible play calling by Adam Gase, it's the defensive coordinator. It is shocking that the defensive coordinator was fired before Adam Gase, obviously, because Adam Gase has had historically bad the last 2 years with this franchise. But something had to give, and obviously it was giving up on the defensive coordinator, Greg Williams. I think a great call, since obviously he could not make a great call yesterday in the game. Just terrible. And unfortunately, the Jets are going to have to suffer again without a win in the NFL. Then finally, our 4th game that I'm getting to now, because we wanted to highlight and save it and to have a discussion around the NFC East, NFC least, the worst division in football, was the Giants versus the Seahawks. Guys, the Giants beat the Seahawks. They beat the Seahawks 17-12, and they did it with Colt McCoy as their quarterback. That's right, Colt McCoy, who hasn't been a starter in this league for years and is in for the injured Daniel Jones, who is still suffering a pulled hamstring. The Giants would go on and use dominant defense to stifle the Seattle Seahawks, I would say, dynamic offense after DK Metcalf came off a career week last week. I think 178 yards through the air for DK Metcalf. He would only be held, I think, this one about 70, 80 yards. It was just not enough for them to get it done. Russell Wilson, while still throwing 263 yards, threw an interception. There was also a fumble by the Seahawks, and Wilson was sacked 5 times. He is an elusive quarterback who is rarely brought down, and he was sacked 5 times. This Giants defense is for real, folks. and could be what puts them over the top in this terrible quagmire of a division, but it could take them over the top to put them in the playoffs. Now, I've heard the talk, and I've basically stood by the Washington football team thinking they could be the team to represent the NFC East. But after a great win by the Giants, you got to give them credit and think that they are surely the front runners to take it home to the playoffs for this one. And I would say gives them great momentum going to next week and gives them kind of excitement. The Giants don't have a very strong schedule for the rest of the year. They play all teams, the remaining schedule with all teams with losing records. So if they can just continue to muster up a defensive performance like they did against the Seattle Seahawks, I mean, kudos to Joe Judge. The special teams coach is now the head coach of the New York Giants. He is doing great in his first year with the New York Giants. I mean, better than I would have expected. I mean, this team was bottom dreck last year, and they are now coming together to be something, I would say, a formidable team for sure. Credit the front office for bringing in great talent. Credit them for building up a defense that can keep up with other teams. Now, we'll see when Daniel Jones get back. Can they get a little more spark on offense? Obviously, 17 points isn't the total you want in this game. Colt McCoy, good job. Gallman, again, big gashes up the field between the 20s with Alfred Morris doing the job in the red zone. Complete game all around. I mean, that's what you need to do in order to win these games against tough opponents like the Seattle Seahawks, and the New York Giants are doing it. I mean, clearly the Eagles aren't. The Cowboys don't stand a chance. The Washington football team, as we record right now, are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Will they be able to get on top and also tie up and keep a lead in that division? But if they can get a win there, then I have hope for the Washington football team against the Steelers, who are undefeated right now. But again, great win by the Giants. It has to put them in the top for the conversation to win this division, possibly get into the playoffs, and will have home field advantage if they win division. So they could easily win a game against a tough opponent, if everything turns their way. But again, big win, big game for the Giants. The NFC East is a dumpster fire, and this team luckily brought some hope to the division and at least give some happiness to the Northeast fan bases. Really impressive. So you have one New York team that's being able to figure out how to lose in new and creative ways, and you have another New York team that is coming together right when they need to, in critical moments. It was very, very impressive by them. Loved watching that game. I'm not a Giants fan, obviously. I think they're rivals. There is definitely not going to be any Giants fans allowed on this show for a while because I can't take hearing them brag about how successful they're doing and the fact they beat the Seahawks just after a week after the Seattle kind of beat down on the Eagles. But, credit where credit's due. It was a great performance by this team, and I'm, a sign of good things to come, I would say, for New York Giants. And also an alarm for teams like the Philadelphia Eagles to know that the Giants have their shit together, so it's time for the Eagles to get their shit together as well. Now, speaking of shit and the team that represents the horribleness that is the NFC East and really how bad it could go, we turn now to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles would take on a very good Green Bay Packers team. Yes, a Green Bay Packers team with Aaron Rodgers, who, was going for his 400th touchdown of his career. Not a small feat whatsoever. Against Davante Adams, who's considered one of the greatest wide receivers in this league right now. Against a running game that is pretty good. A defense that's done okay. Now, have they lost some games they shouldn't have lost? Absolutely. Has some teams been able to figure out and stifle Aaron Rodgers a little bit? Sure. But was it going to happen this game? Oh, no. No. The Eagles defense, while being a bright spot last week and able to hold the Seahawks for 4 drives to 0 points, were just completely outmatched by Aaron Rodgers. They had no answer for Aaron Rodgers throwing down the field. He was able to complete 3 touchdowns in this game. Just able to hit Davante Adams, Lazard, St. Brown, his tight end Tonyan, like anyone who went, he was good. The Eagles will also be gashed for over 71-yard run to Aaron Jones. It was just everything that could possibly go wrong. It did. The Eagles lose this one 30-16. Again, they were almost in this one, and we'll get a reason why, and they almost had a chance to win, but the defense just could not cause any type of turnover, get any momentum for this team to get rolling. It just wasn't enough. Now, the reason the Eagles got back into this game, the reason the Eagles had a chance late, was due to a quarterback switch by the head coach to bring in Jalen Hurts for Carson Wentz. Now, it would be fair to note, Wentz did not have, I would say, as bad a game as he's had in the last few weeks It did get bad, but not as bad as it's been. Last week against the Seattle Seahawks was very bad, real bad. But this game against the Green Bay Packers, he started off not too bad. On a first drive, that was okay. But all in all, this offense, including the quarterback Carson Wentz, has just been awful. You see film breakdown the next day after this game, and you see the blocking assignments missed. You see on that first drive how, Jalen Reagor coming across on, moving across the screen and cutting across, runs straight into Boston Scott as he's setting up for a screen, so the screen falls apart. You see Carson Wentz just being completely blown up by blitzing safeties and cornerbacks because the running backs aren't picking up the right blocking assignments. The linemen just aren't coherent. They're not able to pick up the right linebackers. They're not communicating. They're not moving off their blocks and getting the next one blitzing in. There is a lot wrong with this offense. And the part, though, that just hasn't changed has been Carson Wentz. Now, is it all Carson Wentz's fault? Absolutely not. Is he having one of his worst seasons of all time? Absolutely he is. It is bad. He looks like Andy Dalton. He looks like some of the lower-ranked quarterbacks in this league, and he has shown talent to be one of the best. As we will always remember, in 2017, the season we want back, Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate before going down. He has the intangibles. He has the killer instinct. Last year, when they needed 4 straight wins, they got him. 3 out of them coming from behind. The Eagles, he has shown resiliency. He's shown mental toughness. He's shown skill that is unmatched by a lot of positions besides Patrick Mahomes. He's able to throw the ball and make creative moves all the time. But something has happened this season. And I say all that before because I think people know I'm a big Carson Wentz fan and I will stand up for him in most cases. But in this situation, I have no legs to stand on. Carson Wentz is bad this season. And it was time for a change. Carson Wentz went for the game 6 for 15 for 79 yards. That was it, before being pulled off in the second drive in the second half. Carson was given a whole half to try and get points up. First drive was pretty good. They went down the field, got into field goal range, but he missed on a third down where there was a clear, wide open Greg Ward coming across the front and underneath. He could have easily hit him and gotten the first down. Instead, he elects to go for a Boston Scott little, I would say, floater over the top. And yes, was there contact? Absolutely. But it was not the right person to throw to in that situation. Carson Wentz looks frazzled. He looks broken on that field. He is not seeing the field like he used to. I remember several years ago where you knew if it was 3rd and long that you were going to get the first down because Carson Wentz would find the wide open wide receiver. Something has happened in the offense. Whether it's play calling, whether it's blocking, whether it's wide receiver separation, nothing is working for them. And Carson Wentz is not helping. As we see in offenses all the time, you can plug and play different wide receivers, different running backs. You can change the lineman formation, but often you are stuck with your quarterback, and that's how it is. And in this game, it was finally too much, and it was time to bring in Jalen Hurts and see what he can do. Now, was this pretty late for Doug Peterson to make this move after 3 games that we've seen Carson Wentz continue to struggle? Yeah, I'd say so. I think it was a pretty shitty thing, and we're going to go further into how Doug Peterson handled this situation and his post-game press conference. I won't show immediately after the game. We'll go with the one he had time to think about and give some correct answers, and we'll break down what he's actually saying in that. But I think it was really a bad late call for this. Carson Wentz has been struggling for a while now. It wasn't all of a sudden he just got bad in this game. And Carson Wentz, again, in the first half, was sacked 4 times. And I don't believe he's holding on the ball too long because when you zoom out and actually look at those plays where he's sacked, there is no one open. So, again, bad play calling, bad situational football awareness by Carson Wentz. He is not able to get this one done. And all around, I would say bad play by this offense. So Hurts comes in late in the game. He comes into in the third quarter, second drive, and what they needed to spark, they got a spark. And they were able to get Hurts to start hitting wide open receivers. Now, I don't know if it's the play calling gets simplified. I don't know if they go back to the RPO that Doug Peterson is comfortable with. A lot of it looked like RPO throughout that game when you had Hurts in there. But something started clicking for him. You had a wide open Greg Ward coming across. He hit Jalen Reagor down the side for a nice, beautiful pass to him deep. He was able to score a touchdown to Greg Ward coming across over from the left to the right across the end zone. And he was able to make plays happen moving his feet. Hurts was able to, when the play wasn't there, which happens often because these wide receivers can't get separation, Hurts was able to move and get yardage with his feet. And that's what you need to see in an offense that's not very good. You need a Kyler Murray type that when things break down, they can make things happen. They can get yardage with their legs. And Jalen Hurts brought that to the table. Do I think Hurts is the answer? No. Watching that game, I didn't think he played exceptionally well. I think a lot of people were hoping he'd come in and blow up the league, but he didn't do great. In fact, in the final drive where he needed to score to possibly get us within, to win this game, he threw a pick. He had some errors, and he's able to tuck the ball more. I would say what is positive with Hurts is that he clearly has a clock in his head, because the second he doesn't see something happen, he runs. And he runs the ball. And we saw it often. He ran play after play. Doesn't mean he can't throw, but it's at least positive to see that he has a eternal clock in his head that's telling him, I need to go now. And when he needs to go, he starts running. Carson Wentz, unfortunately, has been able to instead holds the ball. I will point out that in Carson Wentz in the first drive of the second half, Doug Pearson finally play actions and rolls Carson out. And what does he get? He gets a 41-yard pass to Dallas Goedert. I have said this before, I'll say it again. If you are going to keep Carson Wentz in that game, you need to move the pocket. You cannot have him sitting in the pocket anymore. He is not comfortable there. He is not able to read downfield. He sees too many people coming at him, and he instantly wants to move. He's skittish, and there is something wrong there. So I don't know if it's just Doug Pearson not calling it for Carson Wentz, because when you saw Jalen Hurts come out, Jalen Hurts worked out of the pocket. The pocket was moving. It looked good to have Jalen Hurts moving outside, and Doug Pearson was calling it for him. So I don't know if it's just a different play calling mentality when you have Doug Pearson calling for Carson Wentz versus Jalen Hurts, but it was just not there in general for Carson. And when Hurts came in, you saw a little spark. So now the question is, who's going to take over the rest of the game? Who's going to take over the rest of the season? Do you leave Hurts to continue on, or do you try and continue to fix Wentz? Well, we had many of those questions and more asked to Doug Pearson, and we're going to break down more of what Doug Pearson had to say in his next game press conference.
To who will be the starter come this next Sunday, and also, if not, will you be weighing the who's available up front against the offensive line as one of the factors in your decision?
No, I have not made a decision yet, and the offensive line does not weigh into any decisions as to who that might be.
Okay, first off, we're going to pause there because Doug Pearson, I get that the offensive line doesn't necessarily weigh into your decision-making, but it fucking should. That offensive line has been horrible all season, and you've had to change it almost every game so far. So maybe you should put that into your equation when thinking about the quarterback, because clearly Carson Wentz is getting killed with that offensive line, and Jalen Hurts is at least able to run away. So maybe keep that in mind a little bit.
Go ahead, Dave, and then Kristen.
So then, Doug, what are some of the determining factors in that decision, and is there a time you'd like to make that decision by?
Yeah, Dave, I'm not prepared right now to make any statement or decisions on that. I'm still processing a lot of things and going through a lot of things before I make that decision. So that when I know, you'll know.
Basically, Doug Pearson saying there, fuck off. I've heard this question a million times. I'm tired of hearing this question from you guys. Can you please leave me alone and let me just do my fucking job? And no, I don't know who I want to play because I haven't known all year who should be quarterback because I'm clearly not in control of this team. It is asinine to see how Doug Pearson is handling these questions from the reporters.
Sure. I'm not asking what the decision is, but what goes into that decision?
I would like to keep those private, so that's just between me and me.
Go ahead, Kristen, and then Zach Berman.
If I can follow up on that, though, what are you looking to see from whoever will start this week at practice?
Again, I'm taking all that into consideration, and the big picture is the football team, and we've got a lot of. We've got a lot of injury again, coming out of this football game. There's a lot of moving parts again this week, so I'll take all that into consideration moving forward.
Zach and then Tim.
Hey, good afternoon, Doug.
So again, Doug Pearson does not seem to want to answer, look at the practice and who's going to be the starter over this one. I think obviously he's going to be looking at everything going forward. They have not been able to evaluate Hurts well this entire season, right? Clearly by the use of it. Because clearly if they saw talent in Hurts the regular season, they would have started him way earlier ago. Because Carson Wentz has been struggling for 4 straight games. It is not a new phenomenon that Carson Wentz is all of a sudden struggling. So Doug Peterson, by saying, they don't know, is because they haven't known all season. They have no idea who they should be playing. And that's what also worries me about this coach, is that he has no idea who should play right now. And that's bonkers.
Throughout these past 5 years, you've spoken about how you and Carson are married in this together. To what extent do you consider Carson's success or failure a reflection of you, and how does this affect how you navigate the decision?
Great question right there. Putting him on the spot and making sure Doug Peterson answers, because Carson Wentz's success has absolutely been tied to Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson needs to take responsibility for the downfall we've seen in Carson Wentz.
No, you're absolutely right, Zach. I mean, we are married to this, and it's something that I pride myself on, and we're definitely, he and I are definitely in a situation that we've got to work ourselves out of, and we'll my job is to help him and to help him improve and to get better and to help this football team win. My job is also to take and look at the big picture too, and look at the entire football team, right? And those are all things that I've got to consider as we move forward.
Coach, speak for the offense. Completely sucks. I wish I could, take a responsibility for all this, but I cannot. So that's how it's going to go continuously.
Tim and then Jeff.
Communication's the key to any good marriage. Doug, have you had a conversation with Carson since that game? And what kind of message are you stressing with him right now?
Yeah, Tim, as far as communication goes with any player, I elect to keep those private.
Well, I've barely spoken to Carson. Carson Wentz is pissed off. I understand, and I have no answers for Carson Wentz.
Go ahead, Jeff, and then John Clark.
Doug, what did you see in the film of Jalen Hurts? How did he play?
He played okay.
First truthful really answer from Doug Pearson. Jalen Hurts played okay. Wasn't great. Wasn't gangbusting. Didn't blow the doors off the barn at all. It was it was an okay performance.
Could you give a little more detail as to how you thought he performed under those circumstances?
Yeah, I thought it was the spark that I was hoping for when I made the change. He came in and did some things. One of the things that obviously extended some plays with his legs. Made a nice throw to Jalen Reagor. It was good to see that, and then obviously the throw to Greg Ward for the touchdown on a scramble. But there's some things.
Real quick, this man looks exhausted answering his questions. He is clearly so sick and tired of being thrust to having to decide between Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz. I mean, he never looks happy answering this. Look, he's talking about a good performance by a kid, and he's Bill Belichicking it because he's so tired of this shit. And I mean, again, he has no answers. We have to stop relying on him for any answers in this one.
Things that if and when he looks at the film that we can clean up and he can improve upon. But I thought it was the spark that got us back in the football game.
Hey, Doug. Speaking in that context of the best interest of the team, will you be talking to leaders on the team about this situation and the variables involved, or is it something you just will make on your own? Will other coaches be involved in what you decide?
No, Les, this will be my decision. I don't feel like I need to communicate with anybody, players, other coaches. I think it's just, again, it's obviously my decision, the opportunity that I have, moving forward, and it'll solely be up to me.
Thank you.
Mike and then Bo.
Pretty amazing there, where Doug Pearson, when asked about the leaders on the team, namely the players, would he need to talk to them over about what would make the decision for this quarterback change, and he goes out of the way to mention, I don't need to talk to the coaches or anyone else about making the decision. It's my call. Clearly, this is something that's bugging him, and the fact that there's pressure from the top. Jeffrey Lurie, who's not happy. He's working to try and save his job. There's even communication that he would be happy to resign after the season. And he is now saying, nope, it's all my decision to call him this. And a lot of it has to be that he's so sick and tired of the fact that they drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, so he had to deal with these questions all year. They knew that this would be something hanging over the team the entire season. The second Carson Wentz slipped up, Carson starts struggling. It clearly is bothering him behind him having a player that everyone thinks should replace him. And Doug Peterson is the one that has to answer to everyone. And now luckily he's saying it's his decision, but I don't think it's going to be your decision for long, Doug.
Bo and then John McMullen.
Doug, you said last night when asked about whether you had or not making the decision to pull Carson earlier that there had been issues with the whole offense in previous games, whereas this game it seemed to be a little bit more on the quarterback. What were the things that Carson was doing or not doing yesterday that necessitated the change?
Well, when you go back and you look at the tape and listen, it's hard for me to really. I really don't want to get into the specifics, right? This is between me, the coaches, and the team, right? These are things that I don't necessarily need to publicly air all our critical mistakes and errors and things that our football team made. There's enough to go around, right? All three phases. But at the end of the
Doug Peterson quietly calling out his entire team while saying he will not call his team out in front of the media. So sly move there, Doug, who's clearly fed up with the entire organization right now.
Today we didn't get it done, and quite frankly we had an opportunity even in late in the game to get it done, and we didn't do that. So I'm not gonna sit here and point the finger or point blame. Especially at the quarterback position, because there's enough to go around.
And that's what I mean. It's not just one piece. There is a lot wrong with this team. And that's what Doug is saying. It's not necessarily just one player, not a quarterback that you're just switching in. You got the spark from Jalen Hurts. He made the right call, but this team from top to bottom is not getting it done. It is a dumpster fire, all aspects of it. And even though they were close to winning, they could not get it done. And that's the press conference right there, folks. Again, Doug Peterson is just not getting it done, folks. I mean, we can talk about this over and over again, but it just seems that he has no answer for this team. He has no answers for the problems. He finally put Hurts in, but was the game too late? Carson has been struggling all year, and you're saying this is the game where finally it was only Carson struggling? We know this offense is abysmal. The wide receivers can't get any separation. The line is completely letting everyone come through. He's getting hit. He's getting walled. He's getting for record season of getting sacked. And he is not seeing the field. He's not hitting the wide open receivers. There are moments of brilliance here and there, but it is not enough to sustain excellence and winning on this team. And you kept going in and out with Hurts. You haven't had a plan for him all year. You haven't had a plan to play him throughout this game, and you finally, after everyone's been asking you what the hell is going on, you finally put him in for a couple series. While it was a good move, and yes, Wentz needed to be benched and Hurts needed to come in, I still don't put credit on you for making that decision because the media and everyone has been pressuring you to do it. And you were so resistant until now. Many people believe you're just sticking with Wentz because you're your guy, but you were part of the decision to draft Hurts and is an indictment on you to not play Hurts in this situation. I would love to see Wentz have a better chance somewhere else. I think he needs to get traded. I think he needs a better coach. I think he needs all that to possibly revive his career because we have fallen in love with Wentz here in Philadelphia for many of us. I loved his performance. I thought he was a gutsy player and the exact type of player I wanted to see on the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought he represented the values of that team. But he's not performing at the level he needs to perform. And if Hurts is the answer, then Hurts needs to start playing. Yes, I don't really want to see us get in the playoffs because I want to see us have a chance to win later. I want to see us have a chance to get a high draft pick and win in the future. But if he needs to start getting some valuable reps, then let him get the reps. Wentz is going to have to understand, and maybe this will light a fire under Wentz to get better because he's skittish and he's not happy. Maybe you wait till you have a full healthy line again and then give Wentz another opportunity with a full arsenal of weapons on his side. But for right now, Wentz needs to sit. And Hurts needs to get the chances to play because Wentz hasn't earned the job. He's not doing the job properly out there. And I'm a big Wentz defender. And I'm saying he hasn't done enough. So it's time to get Hurts out there, give him the chance. Now, this controversy is going to go on for the rest of the season, and Doug Pearson's going to have to get better answers than that one to what he's going to do to make them do better this year. But I have hope that they can get it done. But we'll see as the season go on. Eagles with another embarrassing loss to a top team, and it's not going to get any easier for the rest of the season. And we're going to see how the rest of it unfolds for the remaining games of this 2020 season. Well, with that, folks, I'm going to wrap it up. I think it's about time we kind of, finish this one up and have a chance to just, rewind, take a chance to breathe, look at everything that's unfolded so far. It was a great week of football, not if you're an Eagles fan, but a great week of football around. Lots of cool stories coming out of the league, lots of big controversies, things to discuss as we hit on in this one. There'll be some big games coming up, especially the NFC East, as more rivalry weeks will be upcoming between especially the Eagles and the Washington football team and the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing really exciting with regards to top talent, but at least something for us to get behind and watch. I will be excited to see all that unfold. We'll see who is starting for the Eagles next week against the Saints. I think we'll probably be seeing Hurts getting a lot more play in this one and having Wentz have to ride the bench. But I think the second Hurts starts failing, we might see Wentz back out there. Hurts did not look great, but he looked okay. So maybe we get a bit of a Taysom Hill performance against the Saints next week. Lots to unfold there as well. So we'll be back on the air next week to discuss that. We'll break down the big stories in the NFL as well and any other developing stories that happen. The NFC East still has a lot to be discussed, and we'll see how the continuing handling of the Eagles over this quarterback, unfolds, and whether Wentz is going to be completely disgruntled as it continues going forward. I want to give a special shout out to Dennis Harris for Sports Outside the Box, which is a great podcast. I was able to join him last week for an episode talking about the Eagles, talking about their struggles and where they need to improve. Always a pleasure going on Dennis's show. Love getting to talk football with him. He is a Falcons fan, had to kind of suffer a crazy end to a game against the Saints this week. Thought they could pull it off, but just came up a little short. The Falcons did in coming back, a great comeback against the Saints. But if you have a chance, make sure to listen to a show on Sports Outside the Box. A great podcast, great content on Instagram always, and really just a pleasure. Hopefully we'll have him on the show soon so we can talk more football and our teams that are struggling. But until next time, everyone, thank you for joining us. Appreciate all your support. We'll be back next week. Until then, have a good evening and good night. Thank you for listening to the ChadBurn Show. Remember to check out all new episodes every Monday at 7 p.m. on Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all major platforms where you listen to your podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me and want to send in your questions or requests for topics to discuss in the show, you can email chadburn.show@gmail.com. All episodes have video recorded, which is then posted to our YouTube channel, The ChadBurn Show. Be sure to subscribe to us where you get your podcast or on our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all our new content. You can also follow the show on Instagram at ChadBurn Show and on Facebook, The ChadBurn Show, to see clips from previously recorded episodes and information on all upcoming shows.